Hi guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the Gamerdisco podcast. I'm joined by Harry, as always, and we also today joined by Swanny and Rory. Welcome back, guys. How's everyone going? How are you guys?
All good?
Yeah,
Good.
can't complain.
And of course, what are we discussing today? E3.
That big old chestnut.
That old chestnut. So virtual, unfortunately, this year. But we're just going to go through and give a quick rundown of the highlights and what we thought was good. So I'm going to kick off with Square Enix. Not a huge amount, really, with Square Enix that was, for me. I mean, the major thing was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. That actually looks quite good. I was quite impressed with that. So you play the Star-Lord. It's third-person single player, and you make different decisions which will ultimately alter the outcome, and you command the other Guardians. It looks pretty slick. I was quite impressed. I don't know if you guys saw that. What you thought?
No, I didn't have a chance to see that.
No.
Yeah, I did like the look of it. It was kind of a surprise, but I guess it makes sense with the recent Marvel Avengers game. I think it definitely has the kind of like look and feel of the films itself. I question the sort of design of Star-Lord. He looks like he should be operating a Shoreditch barbershop. But you know, apart from that, everything else is looking kind of peachy. So it could be fun. It could be fun.
It looked to have the same sense of humour from the films, I thought.
Yeah.
So that could be good.
It was fun. I thought it was funny from the demo I saw. At least it seemed to have a good script. So we'll see. The other game that caught my attention was Hitman Sniper: The Shadows.
You love Hitman, don't you?
I do love Hitman. I've played them since they were on the PC, way back whenever that was, the original one, and played through the entire franchise. Really a big fan.
John Hitman.
John Hitman.
Isn't it Maureen's son, isn't it? Maureen Hitman.
Oh yeah, other guy.
Not a huge fan of the film. I think didn't really translate very well. But if they stick to the games, it's good. This one is a bit different. So it follows a group of snipers called Initiative 426, made up of 5 characters. You've got Soji, Kia, Kolzak, Knight, and Stone. And then for those fans of the original series, you've got Diana Burnwood, who's your controller. She's there, but Agent 47's disappeared. So it's a bit different because it's going to be you'll be eliminating targets with just a sniper. So it's kind of like there's like the sniper mode on Hitman 2 that was introduced in Hitman 2. So it's going to be a bit different, and also it's going to be mobile exclusive, which was a bit disappointing.
Oh,
I was really hoping. Yeah, when I got excited, I was really hoping for another Hitman game, and there was like, oh, okay, it's
I was
cut
just
down.
going to say, I remember that sniper mode on Hitman 2. There was a separate Xbox arcade game, I think, for it as well.
Was there?
That you could just
there
was like a separate thingy for it. It was interesting to say it's mobile only. I mean, it's porting that's going to be relatively easy to mention, but
Mobile only. Did they learn nothing from Commander Keen? Oh, jeez.
But I don't know why they've only made it mobile only. But
I wonder whether the IO Interactive, that's the developers, right? They are tied up with the 007 video game that they're currently making at the moment. So maybe this is just to keep the Hitman brand a little bit, in people's minds while they focus on that next title.
I guess the other side of it, knowing the development side, Rebellion makes Sniper Elite, which is a phenomenal game, and there's another, I can't remember the company, but there's another Sniper game coming out as well, so it's probably quite, the console area, there's quite a lot of technically really decent Sniper games as well, but I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. I'll probably download it. It says it's coming. It's going to be it says coming to iOS, and then Android is a free-to-play title later this year. So I presume it will be like in-game purchases.
I'm very skeptical of that.
Which I'm not a huge fan of, but we'll see.
You end up shooting bottles of Fanta off a wall or something like that.
Your next contract is Ronald McDonald. Sponsored by Burger King.
Oh, speaking of sidetrack, Wendys is coming to the UK. Excited face.
When?
Moving on, I don't know. I
D's.
just saw it the other day.
Yeah, I saw they put a sticker on the roundabout sign next to my home in Norfolk, which is a bizarre place for a
Wow.
Wendys.
Huh.
Back to E3.
Back to E3. I've just started googling Wendys.
Wendy's locations UK.
Yeah,
Can we get Wendy's to sponsor the podcast?
I don't know if they're listening.
I love follow them on Twitter. Their social media people are awesome. They're really funny.
They are. The Wendy's girl has done great things for the round.
I love the square burgers. I really did. I love the square burger. I missed that because they had a branch in Uxbridge, and then it shut down. So it's very disappointed. I've just Googled it, and it's opened in Reading. There you go.
There you go.
June 2021.
Yeah, Gamerdisco team outing.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Definitely, it's not too far away. So back anyway after that segue back to E3.
Boo, baby talk.
Yeah, I know. So those are the two games that kind of strike. There was another one, Life is Strange. I don't know if anyone has come across that game.
Yeah. I played it. It's really good.
I played the first one.
Okay.
Are they doing a collection, like a remastered?
They're doing they're doing a remastered collection, but they're also releasing a new one, which is called Life is Strange: True Colors. So I suppose the remaster is just to kind of like tie everything together, and then the new one, Life is Strange: True Colors, you'll play Alex, and she's got the ability to like she's got empathic skills. She's basically I'm not explaining this very well. She's an empath, so she'd be able to see other people's emotions, and then she can potentially like interact with their emotions, and I think play around with those emotions, which is quite interesting.
So you can see the true colours shining through.
Yeah, very good.
And that's why I love you, Swanny.
Love is a strong word. Tolerate, perhaps.
Tolerate.
Yeah, so there are lots of remasters and collections announced, like Ace Attorney, Life is Strange, Final Fantasy, quite a few of them. Maybe the new thing this year. Who knows?
Well, there's the new Final Fantasy VII, though, the First Soldier.
It'll be years before we see the full game of that, isn't it?
There was like nothing on the video. I think there was like a snippet, so I don't know what.
But
it says launching later this year on mobile devices.
But there was, wasn't there Stranger of Paradise of Final Fantasy Origin, which is like a new version of what like the original Final Fantasy game, which managed in the space of a 2.5 minute trailer to have the word chaos being spoken 8 times. I counted.
There was a lot of chaos.
It's amazing. The character in that just says, "I'm here to kill chaos, whatever it takes. We're gonna kill chaos. It's chaos." It's
a lot of chaos.
It was definitely one of the most talked about trailers of E3, but perhaps not for all the best reasons. But time will tell when the game itself is released.
There was one thing, actually, speaking of things during E3, there was one stream where a guy said, and we're going to show you the whole thing, soup to nuts. Did anybody catch that?
What?
Where did that? This is one of the new sayings that came out of E3. It's from soup to nuts.
No, I've heard the phrase soup to nuts, but it's usually an American thing.
Yeah. Wow. There you go.
Not heard that.
No. You heard it here first on the Gamerdisco podcast.
This newfangled slang from the new world.
Exactly.
I can't keep up.
Moving on, guys. Swanny, do you want to take us through the Summer Games Festival? What you
were? Yeah, I mean, don't know, take you through it as much as explain what I suppose. Well, it was really interesting to see. Not necessarily a new format, but obviously being inside the industry, it's interesting to see what people do, obviously, and I think that last year, with a lack of physical events, Summer Game Fest did really, really well and just kind of synced together a lot of existing broadcasts, and did a very good job of organising that. So it was kind of good to see that happening again, and people organising content around a key beat, as it were. And I think they did really well at getting a lot of exclusives, which then were obviously rebroadcast through E3. But yeah, it's just kind of an interesting way, really, I suppose, in the way that events are going, because obviously now we know Gamescom is going to be just virtual as well. But there's much bigger audiences to be had, So yeah, it's interesting. I think how those broadcasts are going to shape over time. You'll see a lot more importance, I think, put on some of those announcements at key times of the year that way, rather than on the physical events, which is what it typically used to be. So yeah, interesting times ahead, I think. But fair play to them. And I think,
will E3 survive? Because obviously Sony did their own thing now, State of Play. Nintendo did their own thing now, so maybe it won't. Who knows?
I mean, I think it's kind of like if the Summer Game Fest was branded itself as like this is the kicking off of E3 festivities in a way. So I think what you'll see is, developers and things doing their own broadcasts, and when they got a new title coming out, or doing their own sort of directs. But there will still be, quite often with, like, say, the Game Awards, also the Jeff Keighley thing, or stuff like Golden Joysticks or whatever, or the BAFTA Awards, where it'll be a mix of awards, but it'll be a streamed event, and it'll be something where in between you can drop new trailers, new announcements, that kind of thing. So it keeps the gaming news cycle alive, so to speak.
And I think that's the thing. There's a lot of media companies that are out there that are perfectly placed to do this as well. So it's physical events are still going to be there, I think, regardless. It's just how those physical events are more relevant to particular audiences. And then, as I say, the online broadcast, is sort of a bigger deal now, as you can attract bigger audiences that way. So yeah, that's where I think it's heading.
And I think part of what happened during it as well was the fact that Steam did their own sort of Steam Next Fest, where they made about 50 titles available to people at home to try. Xbox did their own Summer Game Fest, made over sort of 40 playable demos available. So I think with the lack of being able to do a physical event, and E3 is quite often been heavily press and developers rather than consumer show, I suppose being able to put demos online for people to play, and here's a snapshot, make it kind of feel like an event, even if you are still at home and catching all the news through the internet, is another way to put the games in the hands of the people who will eventually, hopefully, purchase and play them.
Yeah, and you'll see quite a lot more of that as well going forward. There's been various plans, and we've done press events where you can get hands-on with stuff as well. It's simply just plugging a controller into your laptop there. So yeah, it's again interesting to see how media will react when we do come back to physical, because at the end of the day they can still access it from halfway around the world and not have to travel, especially as we're going forwards with emissions and everything else, and everybody needs to be more conscious of that. So yeah, really interesting times ahead. It's kind of like when the internet rocked the music industry in 2002. They kind of got caught a little bit unprepared, but didn't take long before everyone found their new normal again. Yeah. Anyway, that got a bit more serious than just Summer Games Fest, didn't it?
Meant to be light, Swanny.
I know, yeah, keeping it light. I mean, yeah, like I say, it was a lot of fun. Summer Game Fest, it pulled out a lot of really good exclusives, and they got obviously really high viewership, which is great for them. And it was a global deal. So no, fair play to them, more fuel to the fire.
I guess the big trailer from Summer Game Fest, in a way, sort of eclipsed most of what happened throughout the rest of E3. Was the big trailer reveal for Elden Ring, the new From Software game, teaming up Hidetaka Miyazaki with George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones fame. And, if you are a particular, Soulsborne fan, this was obviously like the thing you've been waiting for. And the fact that it promises all the kind of like strange, weird, creepy gothicness of those games, with the promise of a bit more of an open world, and you get to ride a horse. It looks like that's going to be, clearly that's one of the most anticipated titles out there already. And as someone who has tried to play Dark Souls and is completely useless at it, I still love the world and the design and the atmosphere that it creates. So, I've been bitten and burned by those games before, but the fact that I'm still interested in playing them, even though I know I'll be completely destroyed by it, suggests there's still life in the format yet.
I mean, does that mean that George R.R. Martin will take longer to write the books? He's taken a long time so far.
Hopefully he's not doing QA testing or as well.
Okay, so on to nothing like a segue. Sorry. So
You're
on
still
to
looking at
Nintendo.
Wendys, James.
Wendys, yeah. Should we talk about Wendys again?
Wendys, no.
I used to enjoy their beef chili bowls when I was living in Japan. There was a Wendys there, and that was my first taste of Wendys. And yeah, square burgers.
Beef chili bowls.
Yeah, they did but kind of chili con carne kind of slop. But there weren't that many Mexican restaurants around when I was there, so this was you can take what you can get.
No, it sounds interesting. That wasn't on the UK menu, I don't think. Yeah. But anyway.
Regional speciality.
Hashtag Wendys chat.
On to Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, so Nintendo, I mean, I think we mentioned it on the last podcast, but they pivoted quite a few years ago to video in the sense that they didn't do big E3 showcases, haven't done so for a very long time. They've always done a Nintendo Direct and followed up with a live treehouse presentation, they call it, where they're sort of hands-on with the games. But yeah, the Nintendo Direct was it sort of, I think the fans generally got on with it. I think the reaction was pretty good. There's always this idea of who won E3 in the sense of a kind of competition, and fanboys got a fanboy. But I think with the Nintendo Direct, it had a good mix of stuff. I think the nicest surprises were bringing back certain franchises which we hadn't really heard of or seen for a while. So for me personally, that was stuff like WarioWare, Get It Together. WarioWare obviously being a bit of a Gamerdisco favorite, and this one promising co-op play, which is something new to the series, as well as however many 100 mini games which will be part of that. But I think again, when we had 1-2 Switch at the start of Nintendo Switch being released, it was always the case of, well, this is fine, but it's not WarioWare. So finally we got a game like that now, which I'm looking forward to. Advance Wars coming back was kind of a surprise. And in a repackage, as you mentioned, Harry, with remastered games, it's nice that people get to play those games before, because they were really nicely presented and very addictive. And I guess the other sort of big surprise was, well, everyone was focused on Metroid Prime 4 and nothing being revealed of that. They decided to drop a whole new Metroid game instead for release later this year, Metroid Dread, which is almost 20 years since the last new 2D proper Metroid game, I believe. And that was, very welcome surprise, and it definitely seems to live up to the Dread. It seems pretty chilling. You're going to playing as Samus being chased by these rather creepy-looking indestructible robots. And just the way they move really is a bit freaky. So that's definitely something to look forward to later in the year. And of course, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania.
Yes.
Remastered Super Monkey Ball games, all the classic minigame and multiplayer games that, again, perennial Gamerdisco favorites, those two. So it's nice to have II and the rest of the Monkey Clan back on Switch.
Not an advert.
And and again, Super Mario Party Superstars, similar kind of deal, bringing back previous classic Super Mario Party mini games, but this time hopefully it won't result in destroying N64 control sticks, as Mario Party definitely RIP a bunch of N64 controllers. When the original games, just that control stick, all those games where you had to rotate it as fast as possible, and it was just snap.
Yeah.
done
I think
for.
Wave Race probably did it for mine. Wave Race or something like that. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess the thing that everyone was waiting for with Nintendo Direct was more Breath of the Wild follow-up news, and we got some snippets. We got a bit of a tease and a sort of aiming for 2022 release date, which is good because it gives me time to actually finish the first one, because I've sat on it for years and I've still only maybe halfway through it. Whereas everyone else has completed it 10 times over. But, this is what it's like when you have a backlog to get through, and you know.
That'd be a good feature, that unfinished games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's an hour's worth of conversation already.
Yeah, I still haven't finished Cannon Fodder and started that like 3 years ago. So
you did complete Premier Manager though, didn't you? So.
I'm still waiting for GoldenEye and Micro Machines. When are we going to get new GoldenEye and Micro Machine games?
Didn't someone just spend about 3 years making GoldenEye in Far Cry 5 editor?
Yep.
And then they just took it down straight away?
Yep.
No way.
Yeah.
But the Xbox version of GoldenEye did get leaked recently, didn't it? Because they were remaking it for the Xbox, and not going to point you in any direction, but the internet is where you can find the actual GoldenEye remastered version that was due to be released on Xbox and then didn't. So It exists. It's out there. The truth.
There was a Tron Light Cycle stuck. Can I remember that Tron, Swanny? There was a Tron Light Cycle one. Tron GL that was supposed to have come out, and there's a load of files that you can unpackage online. So I haven't tried to do it because I'm not technically in any way minded. But
much like the film.
What, me?
No, it's in the film. You have to do quite a lot to get the game, don't you?
All the sort of unpacking and stuff.
Yeah, and get access to it.
Yeah.
Talking of Xbox, Harry, what were the Xbox and Bethesda announcements?
I can, because there were a lot. I don't think I'll manage it in that, but I'll try. But yeah.
No repetition, deviation.
That'll go.
Stalling.
So very succinct presentation. There was a lot. The focus was on Game Pass. That is their monthly subscription service where you pay monthly and get access to all the games. Like, there is a massive library of Xbox games and, of course, now Bethesda games you can play on demand, which is quite good. There's a lot of stuff for your money. Not only that, they've said this year they're going to allow a lot of the new releases on Xbox Game Pass day one. I think 30 games this year, that is a good saving on money. Quite impressive.
Oh, nice.
And it's not just having to download them. They're also trialing this cloud subscription. So basically you can play virtually with no worries about running out of space on your console, which would be a concern. So that's quite cool. But it does tie you into a subscription forever if you want those games, as opposed to owning them. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Maybe.
I think it's definitely, obviously with things like Google Stadia, is that one?
Stadia.
And like Amazon Gaming and that kind of stuff. There's, all these different companies are trying to make game streaming a thing. I think if anyone has managed to do that successfully so far, it has been Xbox with the Game Pass thing, just because of the, as you say, the library of games available, the managing to have with a lot of these releases day one availability, and you can see that with the Xbox Series S as opposed to X, where it's just the the hard drive version, doesn't have the disk drive, etc. It's all trying to create that gaming without removing the sort of physical dimension altogether. And I think it's one of those things. It's not going to necessarily be for everyone, but they've got a big enough of an install base, enough users, and the support necessary in order to make that a thing going forward.
I mean, PS Plus does it, don't they, for Sony?
Yeah, you've got a sort of similar library, subscription model, haven't you? And then you've got the other element of doing online. I think what's interesting with online models now is, again, it's about the music industry. When Spotify came along and all of those, there are going to be new services for it. I'd be intrigued to see when someone just goes, there's a controller, it works with your telly, and without, I certainly don't know of anything, but you can sort of project that'll be the way it'll go with various subscription services. What console do you need anymore, or so that'd be quite an interesting way.
Yeah, very much so.
No more go around to your mate's house with your copy of Call of Duty or whatever.
Plug a USB in.
Right, okay, here we go. Speed round.
Yeah.
So, new releases. So, Starfield. This is a big new IP. It's an RPG from Bethesda, coming out in November 2022. It's on Game Pass. Not much known about it, but it's a big thing. I guess a bit like what No Man's Sky could have been from the start. So that looks quite fun. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. First-person horror shooter, sequel to the last one, April 2022. Again, looks fun. Back 4 Blood. This piqued my interest. This is a new co-op shooter from the Left 4 Dead creators. I guess more of the same, but I mean, who cares? Because the Left 4 Dead games were really good fun. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
It's definitely like Left 4 Dead. It was a big thing, but it definitely feels like now's the time to bring back the concept, given the rise of the sort of co-op squad shooter style game. And, there are a bunch of those kind of titles which were revealed during E3 as well. So, there's a lot of competition out there, and, obviously having a 4 in the title makes people remember sort of Left 4 Dead.
I mean, Valve can't count to 3 though, so. Right, speaking of more of the same, Contraband. So this is from Avalanche Studios, who did the Just Cause games. Looks very similar again. It's a co-op open world game, action-y, mercenary kind of thing. Looks fun. 12 Minutes. This looks really interesting. This is an interactive time loop thriller with some big name actors in it. James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, Willem Dafoe. Like a top-down thing, story-driven. It's been described as the closest we'll ever get to playing a video game done by Stanley Kubrick. So
wow.
That could be exciting. Who knows?
Ooh, nice.
Again, similar vein, there's one called Somerville, which is a post-apocalyptic one set with a cool art style, a bit like Limbo. Or what was the other one they did? That studio. I'm trying to think. Limbo did...
Inside.
Thank you, Inside. That's the one I was looking for. So yes, looks a bit like Inside. We shall see. What else? Psychonauts 2, okay. Big sequel, long since anticipated, long since demanded, coming out soon. Sea of Thieves are doing a free Jack Sparrow update. It's not voiced by Johnny Depp, but it sounds very much like him, which surprised me a lot, because the internet thought it was him, but it wasn't. So they found a way to include him despite all the stuff going on. So that's nice to honour the character, I guess. What else? Shredders, a snowboarding game on Game Pass. A Plague Tale Requiem, a sequel to the last one. Slime Ratchet 2. I mean, I could keep going because there's just so much stuff.
I love the Ratchet games.
Just pick out the ones.
Well, nearly there. Atomic Heart. This is quite fun. RPG set in an alternate version of the Soviet Union. Again, quite good fun. Diablo 2 is getting a remaster on Game Pass, of course. The Outer Worlds 2, lots of 2s, sequel to the last one. One thing that piqued my interest was Party Animals, a very cutesy kids platforming game featuring animals by the guys that made Viva Pinata, focused on teamwork, but that was announced with all these other big shooters, but it was a kids game. That was nice. I thought
you need to break up all the grit and bullets.
Yeah, exactly, the old thing like that. Why not? Last but not least, Redfall. Another co-op open-world shooter, new IP, looks a bit like Left 4 Dead again, but this time with the vampires. So that could be very fun, otherworldly and supernatural. Yeah. Oh yeah, and of course there are lots of the standard big franchises coming out. Forza 5, Battlefield 2042, Halo Infinite, Age of Empires 4. you know what you're getting there. They're just the same kind of thing over and over again, but more of them. So if you like that, cool.
Shinier.
I think I went over my 5 minutes, but there we go.
I think the
well
vampire thing's interesting.
Nice
I've
one.
always wondered. It's like, what's the next coffee? Zombies have been around for too long now. What's the next thing? Whether it'll be vampires. Every game has a zombies DLC. Well, it still does as well.
Funnily enough, one thing we didn't see though was Elder Scrolls 6, which I thought would be a big feature given that it's Bethesda and Microsoft together, but didn't see it. Maybe next year, who knows? That's me done.
Very cool.
Okay. Moving on. Any other highlights that we've
There was
missed
one thought
that you
from one
wanna
of our fans on
mention?
Twitter, of all places.
Ooh.
Sega said it was very disappointing, but he enjoyed the Sonic the Hedgehog Symphony, which was a concert that Sega did, which was orchestrated versions of music from Sonic games, and you can watch that online. We'll leave the link in the episode description.
Tons of fun.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. Bias, obviously, but it was amazing.
So enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's incredible. Honestly, go check it out. It's great. It's really, really good.
We believe you.
I guess like some of the other things that caught my eye. I'm a fan of the Evil Dead films, so Evil Dead the game was kind of fun to see. I know it had been previously announced, but it sort of looks like a kind of Dead by Daylight Friday the 13th game riff, but this time with Evil Dead, skin hanging off it, to use an expression, I suppose. So that was nice. I think like one of the other big surprise reveals was the Avatar game. Given that the film itself feels very video gamey to an extent, it was perhaps inevitable, but I guess this is our first tease of what the new Avatar movies, if there's any interest out there still in the idea of Avatar as a concept, but here we go.
Are they doing 3 more films, aren't they?
Yeah, 3 more films.
Madness.
Like if you didn't have enough of it the first time round, get ready for a
Now
whole
you
slew
will.
of it. It was nice to see 2 Point Campus. I've been enjoying 2 Point Hospital, so something with a similar humorous take, but this time on university and college campus life. Definitely seems like it's carrying that same approach through to the new game. So I think that will be a nice, interesting kind of management-y style sim with a lot of humor. And I suppose one of the other things was Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which is a follow-up to the previous Mario and Rabbids collaboration.
That was quite fun, wasn't it? I enjoyed that.
Ubisoft. Yeah, it was. I think it was quite a surprise. I didn't play it myself, but I know it got a lot of fans. Like people were expecting a kind of kiddie version of XCOM, and maybe that's sort of what they got, but they didn't were quite surprised that it was quite as playable as it was.
Better rabbits than minions.
And I just like some of the other things that caught my eye, because as well as the big blockbuster studios and AAA titles, there are a bunch of other sort of streams of more sort of indie developer titles, wholesome games direct, that kind of stuff. And there are a few things like Harold Halibut, which is a sort of a kind of maybe point-and-click adventure story-based game, but rather than pixels being the thing graphics-wise, and you've seen more increasingly people using PS1 style graphics in their sort of indie games, this looks like a really beautiful handmade kind of puppet style look. It sort of looks a bit like Wes Anderson doing Fantastic Mr. Fox sort of feel to it. So it's very beautiful to look at. And there was another game that caught my eye called Unbeatable, which is a rhythm music game, sort of inspired by kind of anime of the 90s, but it's set in a world where music is banned. So you take the music underground, and the way it kind of looks and feels, this kind of narrative adventure, but with a rhythm music action game.
Cut foot loose, as they say.
Yeah.
Kick off your Sunday shoes.
Less Kevin Bacon in this one, I think.
Shame.
He's only 6 steps away.
What? He's 6 steps away from you at all times?
Yeah, well, 7 steps removed, isn't it?
Yeah, he doesn't adhere to social distancing.
No.
Advertisers EE, so by phone.
And I think something else, Severed Steel, I hadn't seen before, but it kind of looks like a mix of Super Hot and Mirror's Edge.
That sounds cool.
It definitely, again, like very, very nice aesthetic, and it looks hard as nails, but it looks like there's a lot of ways you can kind of break the game and play around with it in order to not die instantly.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge was. Did anyone?
I played the first game at least and really enjoyed it. Yeah, okay. I think so.
Did you complete it? Okay, I didn't.
Wasn't there a
sequel? It was great. It was fantastic. I just didn't.
Yeah,
I just got stuck.
Great song as well.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not going to sing it.
Shame.
You can look it up.
What's everyone been playing this week, if anything?
Start us off, James.
Yeah, you go for it, James.
Okay, Pilot Wings on Nintendo Switch.
Wow. Great
game, really good. I found it incredibly frustrating when I was younger. I used to play it on my Super NES, and I think got halfway through and then just never completed it. And then it's appeared on the Nintendo Switch. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys realize, there's on the Nintendo Store you can download like NES games and Super NES games. If you have a subscription to Nintendo Online, and Pilot Wings I just noticed appeared in the store. Wow. So I've been hammering that recently. Really good, really enjoying it. So yeah, that's me. One of the old classics. What about you, Harry?
Personally, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I hadn't played that yet, and I'm getting through it now. It's good fun. It's like the Spider-Man PS4 game, but a lot more succinct. More action-orientated. Good fun.
I've heard really good things about that. Yeah, I might have to give that a look.
You guys, nothing at the moment. Too busy working.
It's kind of. Apart from Olympics, obviously, which is phenomenal.
You're competing in the Olympics.
Playing the Olympics.
You mean Mario and Sonic?
No, I literally have been playing Olympics. But still a bit of Just Cause 4. We're going to run around making some explosions happen, and some F1 as well last week. I seem to be becoming a fan of F1. It's pretty intense though. But I turn the assists all up, don't I? Because I'm old now and my eyes don't work.
Is it more enjoyable than watching F1 on TV?
I'd say so. Yeah. You don't feel the same, sort of passive action. It's definitely more involved, but yeah, it's really good. It's really good fun. And I think that again is another PlayStation Store, or was. I don't know if it still is, but certainly was previously.
Nice.
Cool. How about you, Rory?
I kind of speaking of racing, I sort of dug out Daytona USA for a little play session because I sort of missed that, and I completely forgot that the version I have on Xbox 360 had a karaoke mode where you can drive around and it displays the lyrics of various tracks from the game so you can sing along to your heart's content.
Nice.
And sing "Let's Go Away" over and over again. And I downloaded the demo for Neo: The World Ends With You as well. I was a big fan of the original The World Ends With You game. It's sort of a RPG, but very stylized thing where you're in this sort of Shibuya in Tokyo, and it's all very hip and cool, and you get unwittingly enlisted into a game where you have to fight sort of noise demons while equipping different pin badges which give you special abilities. I would say it makes sense when you play, but it kind of doesn't. You just roll with it. But it's got a really nice look and feel and vibe, and having been a fan of the original and this new sequel, I guess 10 years later or so, because the first game came out on the DS, and this is now on Switch and PS4.
That was retro.
And like I've played it for about half an hour or so just to get a feel of the mechanics of the new version, and it's like welcoming back an old friend.
Cool.
Nice.
I think that wraps it up. So thanks, guys.
A lot to cover this month.
A lot to cover. We blistered. We blasted through it. But thanks for listening, guys. So Harry, how can people find us?
They can find us many ways, James. They can find us on all the social medias by searching for Gamerdisco, and follow us on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or any of those ones, and we'll do stuff there. Also, there is the email address gamerdiscopodcast@gmail.com.
Excellent.
But tweet stuff, and we'll read stuff out, like our friend did earlier.
And just remains to say big thank you to Harry, Rory, and Swanny.
Thank you,
James.
Thank you, guys.
Till next time.